So what do you think? Is this an appropriate choice for Black History Month or what? British white guy solving all the world's problems?
Yeah. The main villains, of course, are Afro-Caribbean, so making a connection here.
Yeah, also African-American. It seems like kind of every black character is in on this conspiracy.
Yeah, there is one CIA guy who's sort of on the side of Bond. But,
plus the boat captain.
Yes.
Quarrel.
I had never seen this before. It made me think that they were riffing on Blaxploitation.
Oh my God, of course they were. That's 100% what's happening. This was made at like the height of the Blaxploitation. I don't want to call it a craze. I don't know. Like the genre was like kind of at its peak.
So this was early 70s. And so that makes a lot of sense here because there was a lot of stereotypes and things in here that made me uncomfortable.
I thought you were going to have a little bit of trouble with that. But a good thing to talk about in this month of reflecting on all the history.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think
good
it is a
bad.
fair connection. Yeah. Well, I think you need to talk about some of that bad.
Oh, that'll come up for sure as we go through this. Yeah. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And today, in an episode as part of Black History Month, we're going to be talking Live and Let Die, which many refer to as like the Blaxploitation James Bond movie, because as you just mentioned, they steal a whole bunch of shit from the popular money-making form of the day.
Yes. A lot of the tropes and stereotypes are in here for sure. We've got fancy cars. We've got interesting outfits. Some canes are in play here.
Fancy cars is a great way to put that. We'll hear a different phrasing a little bit later on, but yes. No, for sure. And actually, this will come up as well, but the main bad guy, Dr. Kananga, Yaphet Kotto, star of several Blaxploitation films across 110th Street. We saw him as the bad guy in Truck Turner, which I think happens after this. And one of the Pam Grier movies, Friday Foster, among others.
Yeah, I recognized him from the previous movie we had seen, so he was definitely a familiar face.
And we saw him in The Running Man recently.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of Schwarzenegger's buddies.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. So he's popped into a few of the things we've been watching. He has a good performance in here, and we'll get to that as we talk about all of it.
Yeah, not a lot for him to do, I feel. He gets like a good monologue and it gets to be dramatic in a couple places, but overall, a lot of people find he's like one of the more thin villains.
They just don't give him enough screen time.
Well, also, and this kind of relates to how like we also with like Bond steals from like what's going on sort of in the world. This one really went away from like the geopolitical trappings of the previous movies and really just did seem to be more of a focus on like that kind of film genre because it was like Kananga is just like a drug lord, essentially.
Yeah, he was a politician / drug lord.
They do make him a politician. That's about as close as you get to a political connection. But it's kind of like compared to previous guys with goals of world domination, his goal is just make a bunch of money.
Yeah, run the heroin trade in the United States, right? This is all he wants to do.
So by comparison, perhaps bit more of a small
tame.
time. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, what are we drinking today to pair with this movie?
Yeah, as we always do, we have paired the movie with a beer. And I think appropriate considering that, again, maybe view this like the black, like some people call it like the black James Bond movie, which like James Bond is not black. It's fucking Roger Moore in his first time as Bond. What a thing to be thrown into for him, huh?
He's the dry wit Bond.
He's the campy Bond. He's the one with just comedic double takes. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. We're drinking the black lager from Silversmith Brewing. This is their most famous beer, I believe.
Yeah, they've been making this for at least a decade now, right? I think they've been working on and perfecting this beer. Silversmith Brewing is out of Niagara, Ontario, or the original location. They call it the Church. They have also opened a second location in Etobicoke, and they call that the brewery location. So they got two. They got the Church, which is this beautiful old church they have turned into a brewery. I think they only make small batch stuff out of there now. They make kind of all styles. You can go on there and you can find sours, IPAs, pale ales, traditional lagers, European styles. They kind of have a bit of everything there. And some of my favorite breweries from the area were actually founded by ex-employees of Silversmith.
Oh, so they have kind of like a family tree stretching out. Yeah. Is the Church thing why the can art here is like a stained glass window?
Absolutely.
That explains it. Okay, cool. Well, I got to say, Black Lager, a.k.a. a Schwarz beer. We had one of those in our fucking beer draft. We didn't know what it was. Apparently, it's a dark lager. So that's right up my alley, and you're hyping this place up. Very excited. Why don't we crack this open and see how it is?
Let's do it.
Yeah. After the traditional gun barrel sequence, we begin our adventure outside of the United Nations building in New York City, where a delegate from the UK is absolutely riveted by a speech that's being given. Dude is practically falling asleep in his chair, but that all changes when we see a hand unplug the microphone cable that's feeding his headphones and replace it with one connected to some kind of detonator switch. That same hand pushes the switch down, which causes the high-pitched tone to ring out in the man's ear before he collapses on the table, dead. And I almost forgot to mention, that hand is black.
Well, we had also gotten some close-ups of the ambassador from a Caribbean nation. They kept showing
San Monique?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Yaphet Kotto. We were talking about him.
I know. So they kept showing him as this whole thing was going down. We do see the translation cord unplugged, and then the other one. It was funny to me that it looked like a detonator for
an old like TNT fucking thing from like cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah, we get this high-pitched sound, and like you said, the British ambassador is dead. And I'm wondering here, why are we going after the Brits? We know this is how James is about to get involved, right? He can't let British foreign nationals go down. But why did the Caribbean nation like go after all the Brits here?
I don't think they ever explain that, do they?
They don't. They never do. We never find out. And this was to their detriment. This is the reason the best spy in the world gets involved. If they had have just ignored the Brits, they probably would have been successful in their mission here.
And considering what Kananga's plan is, the Brits have literally nothing to do with it.
Exactly. I had no idea.
Fuck? I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it makes
that
no
was
sense.
One of the biggest problems I had. I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah, well, that's a misfire as it turns out. Either way, the hits don't stop there. As we head to New Orleans, where a well-dressed white guy standing on the street sees a funeral procession walking by, complete with the standard trumpets, horns, and fanfare. Little does he know this is all a distraction, as he asks a stranger beside him,
"Whose funeral is it?"
"Yours."
Before getting stabbed and collapsing on the street, where the pallbearers quickly scoop him up with some sort of reverse trapdoor coffin that looks cool but is almost certainly physically impossible.
You didn't think that this could happen?
How did this pick him up?
There are like ways to suction stuff like that. I think it's possible.
A human body? Just like 200 pounds.
Yeah, there was like 6 guys carrying that, that coffin.
But they just put the coffin down on top of him and then pick it up and his body's gone. I mean, I don't know, man.
Clearly at this time, the guy like stuck himself in it, right? Or they did a cut and he wasn't actually there. They did a cut, right?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is possible now. Someone could create a coffin that could suction up something really quickly.
You'd need to be a magician on the level of like a Baron Samedi to make this happen, as we'll hear later, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I did like, though, how right after they scoop this guy up, the tone changes completely from slow, somber music to excited, up-tempo dancing. And speaking of excited, up-tempo dancing, we immediately cut to San Monique in the Caribbean, where a bunch of revelers are dancing to the sound of drums as some sort of voodoo shaman dangles a snake in front of a white guy who's tied to a post. As the drums build to a crescendo, the snake bites this guy's face, killing him, and we dissolve to the opening credits. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul McCartney and Wings.
I know this song really well. Live and Let Die.
Everyone does, yeah.
Famous Wings song pops on, and I'm like, oh shit. This is the theme for the movie. And I know the name of the song is Live and Let Die, so that should have set in before, but I had no idea of this connection. It does pump me up a little bit, though. Good song.
Great song.
Yeah.
I like how you're like famous Wings song, a.k.a. the only good Wings song.
I wish I had another to throw out right now to
Band on the Run. People like
Band
on the Run.
Band on the Run
sucks.
No,
Wings
you don't love
sucks.
it.
No, I don't care for Wings.
Such a hater. Poor Paul McCartney.
Yeah, poor Paul. Let's shed a fucking tear for Paul McCartney. Some jag in Canada doesn't like his fucking band with his wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, as the credits end, a praying hand wipe takes us to our first look at Roger Moore as James Bond 007, who of course is in bed with some hot lady. The sound of his house's buzzer going off shatters his peaceful slumber, and if you thought that was a rude awakening, things get even worse when Bond sees who's at the door. It's his boss, M, and far from the serious tone of the first few scenes, this is going to launch us into a slapsticky comedy sequence where Bond has to smuggle this lady out of his place, and he's got to do it before M can notice. This is like his parents came home early and caught him with a girl. What are these high school hijinks?
Yeah, this is the start of
Roger Moore's Bond career?
Yeah, well, that, but also what is going to be a series of poorly executed comedic opportunities in this movie, right?
Fuck, man, that's putting it mildly.
Oh.
There's some real duds.
Yeah, I think comedy is certainly a significant part of the Bond films, but I felt like they took it too far in this one, and I don't know if that's because they're trying to fit with a similar blaxploitation feel, because comedy does play a role in some of the blaxploitation films.
Some, but not all. And this, to me, really is just emblematic of the whole Roger Moore Bond thing, because they do ratchet the comedy way, way up. compared to like the Connery ones and the one George Lazenby one. So I don't know, man. It's what he's most known for, but that's the reason a lot of people don't like him. And the reason why I do like him, although this season's a little tough to watch. I did though love him using the electromagnet in his watch. He has a Q watch with an electromagnet in it to like slowly unzip the fucking girl's dress after M leaves. That's good shit, man.
Yeah, so we find out that the girl he's with is a missing spy from Italy, and they have a little moment here after Moneypenny sort of saves him. She prevents M from seeing this Italian spy. Bond does use his magnetic watch to unzip her dress from behind, and it is a good spot. I threw that in my notes, too. She gives him a little look, and we know they at least one more time before he heads off to do his mission.
At least one more. Hey, apparently that watch magnet can stop a bullet. That's what Bond tells them anyway. When they cram what I thought was some foreshadowing in there, but he never actually used it to stop a bullet.
I know. We transition from that moment, though, to a spot where it is just a flight with tarot cards trying to foreshadow the future of the rest of this movie.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I thought I was seeing the future of that bullet thing. I wasn't, but we do cut to someone who can see the future. As Bond's Pan Am flight takes off, we get an overlay of a fortune teller reading tarot cards, and she is describing Bond's impending arrival as one that will bring violence and destruction. And if that sultry voice sounds familiar, it's because it belongs to Jane Seymour, my all-time favorite Bond girl.
That was Jane Seymour?
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
I didn't even recognize her in this. I had no idea. The only thing that lets me know now is the voice. She has a very sort of sultry British voice, and that is pretty distinctive. Now that
gorgeous. Young Jane Seymour. You don't seem as impressed. Not chesty enough for you. Is that the problem?
Yeah, she wasn't the Bond bombshell that I'm used to.
Come on, man.
Most of the ladies in this are actually rather unchesty compared to previous Bond.
There you go, everyone. One enjoyable rating coming from Nolan in this movie. No, so we do hear from her. We'll get more of her later, obviously. But shortly after landing, Bond meets his local contact. I think this guy's name was Charlie. It does not matter what his name was, though, as he is not long for this world. In fact, he doesn't even successfully get Bond from the airport to his hotel, as a white Cadillac pulls up beside them and a poisoned dart gets shot out of its side mirror and directly into Charlie's head. We do get a brief period of excitement here as the car is rolling out of control, but obviously this is all going to work out, which it does, when Bond manages to get a hand on the wheel and somewhat safely crash it up a bunch of concrete steps. But now, stuck in New York City without a car or a driver, Bond has to call his CIA counterpart, Felix Leiter, to report what happened. And Felix's reaction here tells you everything you need to know about the era we're in and the movie's connection to the Blaxploitation genre.
You what? Get me a making a white pimpmobile.
I don't think you can say that anymore.
No, I wrote that in my notes too. Immediately he dropped it. This whole scene of him keeping the car from crashing on the highway and sort of stopping it safely is okay.
Pretty low stakes.
Yeah, but not a lot going on here. You know he's not really dead. He's going to connect now with his contact from the CIA, Felix, and what's going to happen here?
Well, shortly after he got off the phone, we see that Felix is staking out the movie's big bad, Dr. Kananga, a Caribbean diplomat, like we said, played by Yaphet Kotto, like we said. And Felix is able to somehow trace that car that tried to kill Bond to an address nearby, a place called the Occult Voodoo Store, which Bond visits in short order. And in an unsurprising coincidence for anyone who's ever seen a James Bond movie, he spots the driver of the white Cadillac and the car itself pretty much right away. But that's not all Bond spots, as Kananga, his right-hand man Teehee, and Jane Seymour's fortune teller Solitaire exit through a secret elevator, having tricked Felix by playing a tape recording of Kananga talking. Bond jumps in a cab and follows it all the way to Harlem, where we learn that, like I said earlier, literally every black person in New York is part of Kananga's plan.
It does seem like he's got agents everywhere. On the drive over in the cab, there must be at least 4 different inserts of people radioing in where he is. As soon as he arrives at the location and the cabbie gives him some advice and takes a big tip, he even radios it in. This whole thing, everyone in town is working for him. You're just like, holy shit, of course they are. He walks in confidently in the bar, though, and he orders himself a drink. No ice.
That costs extra.
And then what happens to him? He sits down at his booth, and he's ready for his drink.
Well, that's the thing. All these people communicating that he's on the way, that he's arriving, that he's in the thing. This is why he is, of course, immediately captured when he enters the restaurant, which is called the Filet of Soul, S-O-U-L. That's a nice little bit of wordplay there. No, Bond tries to play it cool, but when he sits down in that booth that he was directed to by one of the waiters, the booth like spins around and suddenly he's greeted by goons with guns in like a hidden lair. Also, Teehee's there, who I ironically called Kananga's right-hand man earlier.
That's ironic because he doesn't have a right hand.
No, he's got a big like robot claw, like a mechanical claw hand.
Yeah, he's lost his arm somehow, and we're gonna
crocodile.
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out later. Yeah, it's eaten by a crocodile. But yeah, they're just setting up the people who he's gonna have to battle against in this movie.
Yeah, some guy with like an obligatory physical quirk.
Yes.
It's always like one of the henchmen.
A short man, a tall man, a man with a middle arm. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to have this one-armed man who has like this super strong claw. We also meet our like New York villain here, Mr. Big.
That's right. I was going to say, left without his standard issue Walther PPK, they take his gun away. Bond's going to have to rely on his wits to get out of trouble. But when a gruff-talking drug dealer called Mr. Big comes to his office to meet him, we see that 007's charm only goes so far.
Is this the stupid mother that tailed you uptown?
There seems to be some mistake. My name is...
Names is for tombstones, baby. You all take this honky out and waste him, now.
Well then.
Yeah, they did not skip any formalities here.
No.
We also get honky dropped a lot.
We did, yeah.
This movie.
Again, era, time and place.
Yeah. So they're going to take him out and kill him. He does, though, meet Solitaire, Jane Seymour. I know who you are. I know what you are and what you seek. You will not succeed, she says.
Well, the cards are telling a different story.
Yeah, that's true. But she's not willing to admit that to herself.
No. And we'd see that they do take that honky outside, but they most definitely do not waste him, which is a fact that she must have expected after Bond pulls one last card from her tarot deck. Not death, but rather the Lovers, which leaves her with a shocked look on her face. Bond manages to stifle his erection long enough to take out Mr. Big's goons, and he's quickly met by another of Felix Leiter's agents, this one far more competent than the last. He at least manages to get Bond out of Harlem, and thanks to Felix, who caught a tip that Kananga was returning to San Monique on a private jet, he also gets Bond on a flight to the Caribbean. Felix says that's where the action is, and as we see in a moment, that is most definitely true. Both in a figurative sense, as we get to see a voodoo-themed performance featuring the one and only Baron Samedi, and in a literal sense, as Bond has to MacGyver a flamethrower out of his lighter and shaving cream can to survive a deadly snake attack.
Yeah. They're definitely trying to set up snakes here as a scary and evil creature. And this isn't the first Bond we've seen this. What was the other Bond we watched where this...
Moonraker.
Yes.
He grapples with that big python in that pool of Draxes.
Similarly, the makeup on the snakes in this movie is pretty trash, as you might expect.
I don't know, man. I would rank this as a more realistic snake attack than Moonraker, and it's about 1,000 times better than what we saw in Hard Ticket to Hawaii earlier this season. I mean, it's a whole different level.
That is absolutely true, but that snake attack was definitely several times more epic. This one ends rather tamely when Bond uses his cigar and his like spray cologne bottle to create that
shaving
flamethrower.
cream. He's got the aerosol in the shaving cream.
No, it's spray cologne.
I'm telling you, man, shaving cream.
No.
He just doesn't spray it, push it on hard enough for it to come out. He pushes it just hard enough for the gas to get
He
out.
literally sprays it on his hands and puts it on his face after.
Yeah, like you do with shaving cream.
No, it was his
fuck's
aftershave,
sakes.
man.
All right, well, we're going to have to take a look at this.
I guarantee it was aftershave.
Someone's getting a fucking statue on the Instagram,
Yes,
is all
I
I'm
love
saying.
it.
And I think it's going to be you.
No way.
That's fine. Anyway, immediately after this attack, Bond hears someone approaching the door of his bungalow. And after a well-timed cigar burn and a classic judo throw, we find out who it is. Another of Felix Leiter's agents, this one a perky young rookie named Rosie Carver. She is very new at this. In fact, her only other assignment was guarding one of the guys we saw get killed in the opening sequence, so she's got a long way to go. And that becomes clear as soon as she walks into the bathroom of Bond's bungalow and sees the dead snake. She lets out a giant scream, which allows Bond to throw this line out there.
Oh, a snake. I forgot. I should have told you should never go in there without a mongoose.
What a quintessential Roger Moore line. Just the exact kind of campy humor that you're going to see over and over again throughout his time as James Bond.
This one gave me a bit of a flashback. Like, I feel like I've heard that line or it's been clipped and used and stuff before. I laughed at this. This is where he tries to seduce her, right? This is where he's going to try to get her in bed.
Yeah, and we should note, Rosie Carver is widely considered the first, like, black Bond girl. Not the first one to appear in a movie, but the first one to be, like, romantically involved with James Bond. But not right now. She is adamant about not sleeping with him. But after finding what she correctly identifies as a voodoo warning in her separate bedroom, she is whistling a very different tune.
Yeah, that went from "there's no way I'm going to f*** you right now" to "please don't let go of me tonight."
Some people need to protect her. and they're willing to do whatever it takes for that protection. I don't know.
So they insinuate that they spend the night together.
It's unclear, but the next morning, she and Bond are, conversing in a more familiar way, let's say, and they set out to do some surveillance of Kananga's palatial estate, where we quickly learn that, much like almost every other black person in this movie, Rosie is actually a double agent working for Kananga and not the CIA. Now, Bond has already figured this out, having received a tarot card alongside his breakfast that morning that revealed Rosie's duplicity. And now the only question that remains is, should Bond confront Rosie with the truth now, or nail her first and then confront her? I'll give you one guess when he picks.
We know the answer to this question.
Yeah, he sleeps for the first for sure.
Yeah. He convinces her to go on a little detour on this island. They head off towards a waterfall where they and then he confronts her about this duplicity, as you've suggested.
He does, and he gives what might be the best line of the movie here.
But you couldn't. You wouldn't. Not after what we just done.
I certainly wouldn't have killed you before.
That's great shit. Come on. Oh, man. But having been exposed by Bond and then having spotted another voodoo warning, Rosie girl runs into the jungle where she is quickly killed off by one of Kananga's poisoned darts. He is throwing darts in our next scene, too, when he angrily confronts Solitaire over why his plan didn't work. Now, Kananga, of course, doesn't know that she's got the lover's card for Bond and not death, and so she tries to cover it up by saying that it must have been Rosie's death she saw instead. This is enough to get Kananga off her back for a minute, but Solitaire is about to have more problems in our next scene when Bond hang glides in and tries to get on her front.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's interesting here. Kananga is really relying on this Solitaire character to predict the future success of his political and drug running businesses. He's definitely threatening her here, and she's feeling intimidated. Like you said, though, Bond's going to show up and he's going to start working his charm, try to pull Solitaire onto his side. And just enough of that lover's card earlier has her a little shook.
Oh, yeah. But then he I don't know. There's no easy way to say it. Bond totally tricks Jane Seymour into sleeping with him.
Yeah, he does a double deck swap here. He convinces her that if she can reveal the lover's card again, then it was meant to be. Yeah. And he swaps the deck to be one full of lover's cards.
It's just lover's cards.
Where he got that, I don't know, but he definitely tricks her, and they
Yeah, I don't know what you'd call this. I'm pretty sure it's not illegal, but it's not good. I know that much.
He's proud of himself, but he shouldn't be, is what you're saying.
No, especially because now that Solitaire turned over her V card, she has apparently lost the ability to see the future. That's going to make her useless to Kananga, and I would say it'll make her useless to Bond too, since he needs information, but I'm pretty sure there's one thing he can still use her for. But what are the chances that she's still willing to sleep with him after he cheated her out of her gift?
100%.
Yeah, she's very into it. She's
She enjoyed her first time and second time, and she asked if they could have a third.
Yeah, right then.
In the morning, before they get up and go. We know that Bond is now going to use her as bait, right? This is like a trope for Bond movies. He's going to take the henchwoman and turn her into bait for his purposes.
Which often gets her killed in these movies.
That became the rest of the interest for this character in the movie for me, right? We already saw one of his love interests get killed, and I was wondering whether Solitaire was going to live or die in this one, and I'm not going to spoil it yet, despite being a spoiler-full podcast.
She lives. I'll spoil it. Yeah, she's fine.
Is that because it was Jane Seymour and not a black woman?
I hadn't considered that. No, I don't think that's what it is. I think that's just the character. She's,
Okay.
Were they going to sacrifice a virgin? No, come on.
She wasn't a virgin anymore.
Why, at the time
Bond put it in her several times. That means that they could have taken her out after.
She's very far away from being a virgin by the time the movie's over. Anyway, Bond and Solitaire go walking through the island the next morning. No judgment. It's jealousy speaking.
Okay.
Bond and Solitaire go walking through the island the next morning where they encounter Baron Samedi, dude just hanging out in the jungle playing a wooden flute for some reason. But of course, he notifies Kananga of their arrival. Now, they manage to escape a helicopter that tries to shoot them, but after making their way back to civilization, they quickly find themselves in a car chase with a bunch of local policemen who are, of course, also on Kananga's payroll. Now, I call this a car chase, but they're actually driving in a double-decker bus, and I have no earthly idea how they managed to successfully ditch all these cops. especially when they encounter a low bridge and just drive through it. I don't think that's how buses work. I'm just being honest.
No, I think most times when a double-decker bus hits a bridge, it stops completely and it doesn't go anywhere. This one looked flimsy and probably for the sake of the movie was, but I thought it was kind of funny. Of course, like, it's funny how I'm able to separate the ridiculous action in a Bond movie because I expect it, but some of the like comedy and racism throws me off. It's like a weird thing that I have trouble separating. Like, I'm really easy to go along with the bullshit action, but some of the other stuff just doesn't sit well with me.
Sounds like a problem with you, not the movie.
That's fair.
No, I'm just kidding. So Bond has figured out Kananga's scheme, or most of it anyway. It all clicked into place when he spotted poppy fields on the island and put two and two together about his connection to Mr. Big. Kananga's smuggling heroin into the U.S., which Felix Leiter is going to be very interested to hear about. So we're headed back to New Orleans, where Bond and Felix reconnect, but not before 007 gives some flight lessons. What'd you think of this airfield sequence?
This was too much. They haven't, well, I don't know. I laughed too, but there's an old lady who's waiting for her flight lessons in a Cessna, and we get Roger Moore driving her around the hardtop or the blacktop of the airport,
the runway,
buildings, like all over the place. Ends up driving it through a closing door. Both wings fall off, and she drops a couple swears. Because, you know, old lady swearing is always funny.
Always funny. Surprising amount of swearing in this, actually. Not like full-on swearing. No one drops an F-bomb, but like...
Well, it's funny because one character does drop F-bombs twice, but they like blank it out or doesn't hear it. And I actually noted it because I thought it was funny that they drew the line there. Like, they insinuate a lot of sex. They insinuate swearing, but they don't actually show
There's no
any
nudity.
of that stuff. So, yeah, we're getting that kind of slapsticky, close, like lots of swears, funny stuff. I don't know. It's like, it's a lot.
And he gets away.
He does. Of course he gets away. We know that he's going to be getting away a lot in this movie. We also know he's going to get captured and have to fight his way out of there too. But
that's true, but he's not captured on that airfield. Kananga's guys try, but he gets away thanks to his flight lesson gambit. But this all has ramifications, obviously. And after receiving a tongue lashing from the real flight instructor, Felix Leiter takes Bond down to the New Orleans location of the Filet of Soul franchise. Now, that Harlem agent from earlier is supposed to meet them there, but he gets himself funeral just like that guy at the start of the movie. So another agent is dead, but since James Bond has dined at the Filet of Soul before, it's not going to be so easy for them to get the drop on him this time. No, actually it is, as he declines the waiter's offer of a booth up against the wall, only to have his seat close to the stage drop through the floor as a lounge singer gives her own version of the Paul McCartney theme song. Are there any seats in this restaurant that don't send you through a trapdoor?
None that Bond sits in.
No, man. Everywhere you sit in the Filet of Soul, you're fucking falling down into something.
I was a little bothered by the CIA agent getting trapped again by the same ploy. Like, I thought it was curious.
Good ploy.
I guess so. I thought it was curious that they hadn't figured out how he'd gone missing. I guess they didn't have enough information. It's too good. Right.
Well, also, how would you assume that like the 100 people in this funeral procession are all working for Kananga?
And that
because they're all black?
Kill him and
that's
then,
all it is?
No, I don't know. I just
he's black.
I know we had watched it happen once. To see it happen the exact same way again seemed frustrating. But at this time, they wouldn't have had like video technology. They wouldn't have like known or found any of that
guy
stuff.
just vanished. His body was gone.
It would have been easy to do it again. But it was just, I think it was interesting that it replayed itself the exact same way a second time. I did like that kill. It was the same thing where it was somber and then into that like festive sort of parade through New Orleans after that, right? It was one of those. It made me really want to visit New Orleans. Not the murder, but the parade.
Yeah. What, more than when we saw Cat People? That didn't make you want to visit New Orleans?
No, it did. I wanted to go after that movie too, yeah.
Is
that the weirdest movie we've ever watched?
Cat People?
Yeah.
I mean, we watched The Velocipaster and Birdemic, and I don't know.
Those are strange movies too, but there wasn't like a weird.
They're strange in a different way.
Yeah, like
they're
Panther
just shitty.
Sex scene. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that is. Well, but she's also a panther.
Yeah, but it's all real weird. Yeah, is it okay?
I think it's okay.
Sorry to bring that.
Anyway, getting back to Live and Let Die. In yet another secret lair, Bond once again finds himself face to face with Mr. Big, who has questions for Bond. Well, one question in particular,
which is. Did you mess with that?
That's between Solitaire, myself, and Kananga. I'll tell him when I see him.
Did you touch her?
When I see Kananga.
Well, he's going to see Kananga real soon as Mr. Big rips off a fake plastic face, Mission Impossible style, to reveal that Mr. Big is Kananga. This is a shocking twist, but not nearly as shocking as what Kananga is planning on doing with all that heroin he smuggled in from San Monique.
I actually didn't find the twist shocking.
You knew it was him?
Yeah, I thought the makeup on Mr. Big was terrible.
I thought it was terrible in the sense that he didn't look like superhuman, but I could not tell you for sure that it was Yaphet Kotto.
No, I didn't know that
the
too.
first time I watched it, I'm like, this is some different actor. They gave him I don't know why they gave him bad makeup, but they did.
Yeah, the very first time I saw Mr. Big, something was off about what he looked like, and it was bad makeup. And to me, I, like you, just thought they'd done a bad makeup job, but I think because of that, I wasn't surprised when he started tearing his face off. I was like, oh, yeah. I didn't know it was Kananga beforehand, but it certainly took away a bit of the surprise for me because the makeup. And I'm just going to put that on, like, the date this was made, right? Like,
well, that makes one of us. I legitimately did not think it was Kananga when I first saw this.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But the bigger surprise you're about to talk about is that all of that heroin, the 2 tons he's about to bring into the United States, he's not looking to make a fortune here. He's looking to give it away for free. He's flooding the market.
Fuck yeah. In a move that will infuriate the various families who control the drug trade in the U.S. You know the kind I mean, full of totally legitimate businessmen.
Yes, they're not at all insinuating that it's mafia and motorcycle gangs. That's not
no
what
one
they're doing
said
here.
that word. I didn't say it. Me,
They
Cooper.
talk about 2 monopolies here. He wants to create a monopoly over the heroin market, just like the phone company. I thought it was kind of funny, taking a shot at telecommunications here.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, at least in our country, are a little sick of the cell phone providers, at least.
Yeah, a monopoly.
Perhaps a little bit of price gouging.
Yeah,
for those of us
definitely.
in-
Yeah. We have some of the worst prices in the
We fucking do.
the world.
We do for sure. But yes, Kananga's going to give away 2 tons of heroin whose street value is over $2 billion for free.
And he doesn't care about that, though.
Nope.
He cares about whether Bond Solitaire. That's what he keeps asking. Did you touch her?
Did you touch her? No, his plan is to double the number of addicts in the country and then start charging once his customer base is both huge and desperate. But first, he needs to see if Solitaire will still be able to help guide him. So he decides to put her to the test by threatening Bond with mutilation if she gets a question wrong. And when I say a question, I literally mean one question. Not only that, it's a fucking true-false question. How's she do, Noel?
Well, they make it look like she passes it. Bond is not going to lose a digit or a dink here. The guy threatens to cut off his with his
No,
claw.
he doesn't cut off his finger.
No.
The claw's on the finger.
I know, but they make an accusation that once Solitaire gets enough questions wrong, we're looking for other parts of your body to cut off.
You're going to need a bigger claw.
Well, yeah, you don't think they can fit the hog meat between those
Roger
two things?
Moore's hog meat cannot be felled by what tea he has to offer. Not based on what he's done to this virgin.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
well, that's fair. She's all in. But she gets this question right, or at least they make it look like she does.
Yeah.
So they're not going to dismember Bond here. He does get a good clawing in the back of the head, though, knocks him unconscious. And they drag him off because we know Bond needs to be set up in the most elaborate and ridiculous way. This is one of those tropes that there's no way they could steer too far away from.
No, never. But after having his goons take Bond away, we get a very dramatic scene between Kananga and Solitaire as he basically begs her to tell him why she betrayed him by sleeping with Bond. Solitaire tells him that it was out of her hands because the cards, man, the cards. But all that explanation gets her is a rough backhand and a promise of death. Yaphet Kotto goes all the way here. Kananga is not okay with being the Buzz Aldrin to Bond's Neil Armstrong. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely not. And you know what? I think what he's most upset about is that he has held himself in check for so many years.
He said, I would have given you love when the time was right.
Yeah.
She didn't want his love.
No.
She wanted Bond's love.
She wanted Moore meat.
That's right. Give me more, she was saying. Give me more and more and more.
Yeah, this is a lot. It's pretty well done, though. Like, I think this scene is decent. Baron Samedi...
He's really trying.
Yeah.
What is up? Baron Samedi is flamboyant as fuck here.
Yeah, he's taking tarot cards. He even grabs the...
He's dressed like a figure skater.
Death card, and he burns it. There's a lot of strange stuff they do with this Baron Samedi character, and I don't... Well, we're going to talk about it later, but it does not have the payoff I'm hoping for.
How dare you? I think the Baron is one of the best characters in any Bond movie, and we'll get to why that is later.
All right.
But speaking of Bond, we see what Kananga has in store for him in our next scene as Teehee and the boys take him to a crocodile farm and, after giving him a grand tour complete with fun facts about crocodiles and their eating habits, maroon him on a rock in the middle of a swamp thanks to the old retractable bridge trick. The crocodiles are closing in, and when Bond's attempt to bring a rowboat over with his magnet watch fails, he has to make a daring escape by literally running across the crocodiles' backs to safety. Man, lucky for him, they were 5 of them all perfectly spaced out in a row there, huh?
Oh, I laughed my ass off at this scene. It was
so
brutal.
Yeah.
The fact that he uses their backs like logs in a cartoon, I blew a nuts. Like, I was just like, there's no fucking way. I saw it, like, you see it coming way before it happens. They just start seeing these alligators or crocodiles lining themselves up perfectly for him, and you're like, no.
It's like a rope bridge made of crocodiles.
Yeah, it was slow-mo, like, just outrage as this was happening. He then very quickly opens the gate and lures some of them into what looks like just a trashy boat shed, but is actually the heroin processing location or one of the heroin processing locations for our main villain here. The alligator or crocodile gets in there and starts causing a ruckus, and Bond starts lighting fires. Things are not going well for Bond's enemies here.
Oh, no, man. He completely fucks up this lab or refinery or whatever it is. But after that, he quickly jumps into a nearby speedboat, and before you know it, we have got a boat chase that turns into a car chase as one of Kananga's henchmen, who's racing to cut Bond's boat off at a nearby pass, draws the attention of local law enforcement, specifically Sheriff J.W. Pepper, which is great news for anyone who didn't think this movie had enough troublesome racial stereotypes already.
Holy fuck.
You didn't care for J.W. Pepper?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
You're shocked that I didn't enjoy this?
No, man. This guy sucks hard.
Yeah, the acting is awful. He's got a mouth full of fucking chews.
Yeah,
he's just constantly spitting. They have made him such a stereotypical Southern racist that it is really difficult, right? He's driving around and he catches up with one of Kananga's men, and that whole scene is awful until the boat launches itself over him and trashes his fucking...
Yeah, it lands on his car.
Oh my God.
And now the sheriff is carless, so he has to commandeer another patrol vehicle from, like, I guess, like a state trooper or something?
This is where he's being racist. He's dropping F-bombs, and I just don't understand the inclusion of this character. Clearly, it's for comedy.
Yeah.
This is the worst... Like, there's some bad comedic elements thrown into this movie. He is the worst by a lot.
Do you want to hear something that I'm sure you don't know that's going to blow your fucking mind? They brought him back in another movie.
What?
He has a cameo in, I think it's The Man with the Golden Gun. They bring him back.
Why?
I don't fucking know. He's terrible.
This character is awful. Like, did it get good feedback at the time?
I mean, I don't know. It depends on the audience, I guess. Like, let's be honest here, and I think you're guilty of this on occasion. Some fucking white liberals like to laugh at Southerners. And I think...
I was offended for Southerners based on this character.
Suddenly you're a friend of the South. Were you shitting all over Texas in our Halloween episode?
No.
I'm pretty sure, we go back and listen, I'm pretty sure you said, like, Texas blows ass.
I never said that about Texas.
Well, I definitely didn't say it. I love Texas, but... Anyway, no, you're right. This guy is supposed to be the comic relief. As evidenced by his cartoonish bluster and constant embarrassments. His guys put together what has to be the single worst roadblock in the history of roadblocks. Both Bond and the guy chasing him roll right through. And this bizarre cameo culminates with old J.W. Pepper calling in his brother-in-law as reinforcements.
You call my brother-in-law Billy Bob. He got the fastest boat in the whole damn river. Billy Bob sure enough fix their ass. Here, go Billy Bob.
Why? Why is he in here?
What's really annoying, too, is...
The movie didn't need any of this?
Well, the boat chase is actually quite good.
Just have the boat chase.
Yeah, why insert all of this terrible Southern Sheriff comedy with, like, hard eye roll on the comedy? It would have been so much better if we just had an awesome action sequence with boats and cars. And you could have included, like... Sheriff's Department getting involved in this without having this ridiculous racist garbage character involved.
Yeah, and this is like 15 minutes of the movie. It's a huge chunk they could have cut out. Yeah. We're totally in agreement on this.
Well, they even fly through a fucking wedding. Like,
I'm going to get to that. No, yeah, believe it or not, Billy Bob does not fix their ass. He gets himself knocked out and his boat stolen by Kananga's henchmen. And after more hilarity involving both the Riverside wedding ceremony that you mentioned and an old oyster farmer's truck, all of this leads to a big multi-car crash that wipes out J.W. Pepper and the rest of the cops, while Bond dispenses with Billy Bob's boat by throwing gasoline in the driver's eyes, then setting the boat crashing up a nearby ramp where it explodes. And like we were just saying, this is where I wrote in my notes, why couldn't we have just had the boat chase and skipped all the horse shit with the blowhard sheriff?
It would have been way better.
I don't know. It was so much fucking better.
Yeah.
Well, after that giant diversion, it's time to get back to our main feature here, as Kananga and Baron Samedi were spotted leaving the U.S. with Solitaire, and sure enough, back in San Monique, we see another voodoo ceremony, just like the one from the start of the movie, only this time it's Solitaire who's tied to the post. James Bond witnesses this after stealthily arriving on the island commando style, and he also witnesses the voodoo shaman from before reach into a coffin filled with snakes to pull out a particularly deadly-looking one. He's about to deliver a deadly bite to Solitaire, but suddenly everything stops. And you and I both know, there is only one man whose entrance can silence a crowd like that. It's Baron Samedi, who literally rises from the grave to fill in a top hat that was placed there by some old locals. My God, what a showman.
There's so much going on here. As Bond's entering the island, they mention like at least 15 times to look out for the sharks. So we know that's going to play a role.
He's got a shark gun.
Yeah.
With compressed air.
So they've talked about that. He waits till just sort of the right moment when that snake is about to deliver a fatal blow to Solitaire, and he fires off a shot and kills the sort of shaman character, the one who was holding the snake.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we have to get out of this somehow. So Bond just starts shooting everyone. He puts a bullet in the voodoo priest's chest before sending another one right through the Baron's head, which for some reason makes a glass shattering sound.
Yeah, it was like he was made of pottery. And
yeah,
he shoots his chest and he falls apart.
It was like a ceramic breaking noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, his whole body falls to pieces. But I don't understand because we see his eyes moving around before that, so I have no idea what's happening here. And for the record, neither do the other voodoo worshippers, as explosive charges placed around the poppy fields by Quarrel, Bond's boat driver, suddenly go off, sending everyone into a frenzy. But just when this crowd couldn't possibly get more wound up, Baron Samedi rises again up out of the ground, opening his eyes and laughing before grabbing a sword to battle James Bond. I'm telling you, Noel, he's fucking magical.
We knew when that fucking like porcelain version of him fell apart that wasn't the real one, or he wasn't going to be dead. We know he rises from the grave, and this is the fight that I was so shocked about because it lasts a total. Yeah, they literally clank machetes, and then Bond body checks him into the coffin full of snakes, and we see the writhing body, poorly performed. I don't know. It was such a waste of a build-up to me. There was so much more that could have happened between the Baron Samedi and the Bond character here, and I felt a bit disappointed. Of course, Bond knows now that there are trap doors underneath this cemetery, and he uses his fucking sword here to smack on the grave and send the signal that he needs to be let down.
Well, that's what these old timers did before the Baron rose the first time. And yeah, I agree with you. Bit of a letdown. The Baron make an impressive entrance, but he can't sword fight for shit. So he's apparently dead. And yes, Bond travels underground, kind of a clever way to gain entrance to Kananga's hidden compound. And now at this point, anyone who's seen a James Bond movie knows exactly what will happen next. Bond will get captured again, and Kananga will give a lengthy speech where he reveals everything about his plan before Bond turns tables on him. And not only is that exactly what happens, but I swear to God, Kananga even uses the phrase,
"Let me show you exactly how it works."
But hey, I guess cliches are cliches for a reason, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we all knew this was going to happen, right?
Fuck, dude. This is like one of the most blatant ones ever.
And I don't know whether I was upset or not, or whether I was happy that it fit the formula. I was really struggling with how I felt about this part of the movie. Of course, Kananga meets them with incredible positivity, right? He knew they were going to be here, and he's happy that he's got them, and he's going to be able to capture them and deal with them in his own way. We know he's going to not just fucking shoot Bond, that he's going to put another elaborate death scene into play here. And we also find out that he's got quite the high-tech like base and situation. There's an underground monorail. They're using all of these special technologies to
submersibles that are like watertight. Yeah, man. Yeah. No, as you mentioned, the one box Kananga hasn't ticked on the Bond villain checklist is the overly elaborate and exotic death part, but he crosses that off in a moment when he ties Bond and Solitaire to a winch and starts lowering it into the shark-infested waters below after slicing Bond's arm to get a little blood in there, get the sharks going. Ugh. But of course, 007 quickly escapes as he frees himself via a hidden saw on his magnet watch, which he also uses to bring over one of the compressed air pellets from the shark gun he was given for his post-mission swim back to Felix Leiter's boat. Now, I had forgotten what he does with the air pellet until it was happening, but I'm very curious for your reactions as a first-time viewer. How does this all shake out?
Oh my God. He and Kananga are battling, right? We got Afek Koto and Roger Moore having a bit of a fight. This one lasts a little longer than the other one, which is kind of nice. I like
the Samedi one?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's
They're
much
punching
longer,
each
yeah.
other and battling. They end up throwing each other into the water where the sharks are. And Koto is not happy about this. The Kananga character knows the sharks are there and does not want to get eaten. Bond, however, decides to use Koto as a bit of a distraction. He takes out that bullet, which we had seen earlier blow up a couch.
Yeah, it's like a pellet. It's a compressed air pellet. Yeah.
And so he puts it in his mouth. And,
What about the couch?
Yeah, this whole scene with the couch is a lot too. But he shoves it in his mouth and somehow makes it go off. I don't understand how that happened.
I don't get it either. And like Koto is like, his cheeks are puffing. I'm like, yeah, fucking spit it out, dude.
Koto
I don't get it.
Blows up like the kid, the blueberry kid from Willy Wonka, floats to the ceiling and explodes in what I can only describe as a incredibly poor makeup or like video effect. This is the one that I feel was the least effective.
Oh my God. Not only that, it has to be the most ridiculous Bond villain death ever. It was like the fat guy in Dune. Remember that big guy in Dune that was floating around? Yeah,
yeah, the
but
Baron.
We do get another classic Roger Moore line here.
Where's Kananga?
Well, he always did have an inflated opinion of himself.
What a silly fucking scene.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There is some frustration and also some laughs in this, right? Like it was a lot of both, right? I don't know. There's a whole lot here. He does rescue Solitaire though after the fight and the explosion, and we're gonna head off, I guess, to see what happens to Solitaire and Bond.
Well, they do still have to escape Kananga's compound, but except they say that, but they get away right away. And before you know it, the two of them are saying goodbye to Felix Leiter and starting their long journey home. And if you thought James Bond was going to just fly back to England when he could travel by train, well, you don't know James Bond, man. That's not what he's going to choose.
Yeah, Felix asked them why they have chosen to be on this
What
train.
are you going to do for 16 hours? And Moore's just like, come on, Felix.
They just give him a look,
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to lay pipe on this formerly virgin.
Yeah, recently
Yeah.
virgin.
I'm going to further
de-virginize
de-virginize her.
Yeah. Oh, man.
God damn. And we have one more scene to go here, as after some gin rummy foreplay, do the British know how to party or what?
Yeah, unlucky at cards, lucky in bed joke thrown in, right?
There you go, yeah. Bond is about to nail Solitaire on a train bunk when Teehee, who is still alive, sneaks into their car looking to get some revenge for Kananga. He snaps Solitaire up in the bed and gets Bond in a pretty precarious position, but 007 is able to lock Teehee's mechanical hand to a window handle by cutting some cables in his robot arm. Then it's a simple matter of flipping out the window, the force of which causes Teehee to detach from the arm and fall out into the darkness below. And with that taken care of, Bond settles in for multiple hours of sensual lovemaking as we cut to an exterior shot and see someone sitting on the back of the train. And that someone is Baron fucking Samedi, who sends us into the credits with a hearty laugh. God damn it, is there no end to that man's magic? Eat shit, David Copperfield. The Baron is the real deal.
Is he the best magical performance on a train we've seen in this podcast?
I mean, Copperfield on Terror Train.
Yeah.
What do you do? This guy's still alive. He's been killed like 3 different times.
You can't kill him. We knew that earlier.
Bullets, swords, a bunch of poisonous snakes. He's laughing it all off.
I'm wondering if he's laughing because he just plans on being outside that window and watching them for the next 15 hours. That's all I'm wondering.
The Baron is a fucking natural voyeur, and he's just going to check it out.
Absolutely.
And in the credits, of course, we get Live or Let Die again.
Yeah.
And again, why, if you're paying Paul McCartney for the song, why wouldn't you just play it into the ground?
It was a part of like 50% of the music in this film for sure. At least.
It was that much. But it was a lot, man. And that's it. Like, I don't know. I've seen every James Bond movie. You've seen, at this point, probably most, right? You've seen most of them?
So no, I haven't seen that many. I've seen most of the Connery ones. This might be the only Roger Moore one.
No, we watched Moonraker.
This is the only other Roger Moore one that I have seen. Yeah.
You know, we could watch Octopussy and not lose a step. We could just get right in there with
It would be perfect too. We could just watch the whole Moore.
We really could.
Like,
they're all up there.
Maybe we should just do a Bond-a-thon at some point.
Just every Rush, just cross them all off.
Cross the Rush. Yeah, we got to
much
get me
more Bond. Yeah.
Ooh, I like it. We can do that.
So yeah, man. I don't know. I'm very curious to hear what you thought about this. Why don't we transition to our ratings? The way we always do this, we have a scale of 1 to 10 2 times. 1 to 10 for how bad it is, 1 to 10 for how enjoyable. And the goal is to find movies that are a 10 out of 10 on both scales, or what we call the Crit 20. And for me, I think I said this when we watched Moonraker way back in season 1. Just the fact that it's a Bond movie It's a major studio production. They're going to put a lot of money into this. You're going to get some exotic locales. They're going to do some action stuff. So I feel like these can never really be like that bad. Having said that, there weren't a lot of big action pieces in this. The Baron Samedi fight was disappointing. The initial thing where the car loses control, not great. Even like the boat chase, we had all that fucking sheriff off to the side. That kind of took away from it from me. So there wasn't a lot of action. I feel like there was like less action than Moonraker. And I don't consider Moonraker to be a particularly action-packed Bond movie. Then you factor in the various comedic parts that just don't land even a little bit. The whole Sheriff J.W. Pepper part is fucking obnoxious and unnecessary. Moore's in his first time as Bond here. He hasn't really figured out sort of like the rhythms. He's doing like Roger Moore things, but like if you watch this coming off the Connery and even like the Lazenby one, I'd be like, what the fuck was this? It's just the tone is so much more comedic and campy, which again, like I enjoy the Roger Moore campy Bond, but this is not my enjoyment. This is my like good bad rating. Then you've got the whole rip-off of Blaxploitation. It's a rip-off. They're ripping off the Blaxploitation genre in a way that like steals a lot of the tropes and the cliches, but not in a way that I feel honors it. I feel like it's more just like a reappropriation. I'm not here to shit on the British, but what a fucking British thing to do, right? Let's just like take this thing and we're gonna like do it. We're gonna do our version of it. I don't know, man. I can't give this a 10 because there's enough in here that it's not that bad, but I actually had this as an 8.
Wow.
What did you think about this?
Yeah, definitely a bad movie. The first on my list was the comedy and humor. There was an occasional fun line, like there was an occasional pun that I felt like was a tradition in Bond films and it worked well, but there was so much. The whole sheriff thing, of course, that stuff at the start with the hiding of the Italian girl and like a lot of that.
Well, I like the zipper though. The zipper was funny.
But that was separate from that. That was just like technology doing fun stuff, right? But I also felt some of the makeup and effects were kind of poor, and I'm not sure how much of that was the time or versus, but I thought the explosion effect of him at the end there was really bad. The makeup on the snake was pretty terrible.
It's so silly too. It makes no sense.
No, I didn't like that. There wasn't enough payoff in the fights either. They built up that Baron Samedi character, and although the ending of him kind of like horror movie surprise still being alive was kind of fun, I didn't think that the battles between them were good enough. I had this as an 8 bad as well.
We're in the same fucking rating again?
Maybe, I don't know. It definitely could have fit further bad for me, but there was just some of the stuff was done too well to fit into that bad rating, and maybe that's not fair. Maybe I could make it a little further, but I had it as an 8 bad.
Feel free to let it out here. How enjoyable did you find this movie on a scale of 1 to
10? I actually thought that some of the action was fun. I liked the boat chases. I did not enjoy the like sheriff, obviously. Some of the car scenes were okay, and I did laugh and enjoy that double decker, even though you didn't enjoy it. I thought the watch was kind of fun, but this lacked some of the gadget stuff that is often a part of a Bond. Like, we didn't have quite enough of that for me. We needed
It's
Q.
just the watch, pretty much.
Yeah, we needed like a Q character.
Q not in this movie. That's rare.
Yeah, and I would have enjoyed some of that. Roger Moore's Bond and the puns and lines I enjoyed. Like, he's dry and kind of funny. I didn't dislike that. I enjoy the song, and they leaned on it heavily.
I hear it so much.
And it worked okay.
Yeah.
There's some good editing, like good transitions and things worked well of that nature. It didn't stand out for me. Like, it's certainly not on my list of favorite Bonds. I didn't dislike watching it. It's not a negative enjoyability rating, but it's certainly not super high on there. I had this as a 6 enjoyable.
God damn, we are miles apart on this. There was my concern was having different ratings. Good. So I had problems with a lot of the same stuff you did. The comedy part's awful. The J.W. Pepper stuff's awful. I love Moore. He hasn't totally figured it out here, but I like his general tone. The campiness was there for me. As you know, I'm a big fan of the Blaxploitation like film genre. And because they are so heavily pulling from it here, there's a lot that I enjoy about this. The fucking, like, the fashion, like the clothes that people are wearing. I love, like, Baron Samedi's outfits. Love it. The Cadillac, like all that stuff. I'm into it. I liked the whole like New Orleans funeral procession thing. That's kind of cool. I just kind of wish they had given Kananga more. Yeah. I wish they had made his aspirations bigger. I wish they had given him more to do. But I thought Yaphet Kotto gives a great performance here, especially when he gets the dramatic scene with Solitaire in there.
Yeah.
So between like my favorite Bond girl, fucking stunning. I just like an all-time, just unbelievable natural beauty coming from Jane Seymour here. Jane Seymour, the heavy influence of the blaxploitation genre. There's a lot that I like about this. I had this as a 9 enjoyable. This is actually like low key my favorite Bond movie.
Holy cow.
But I realize kind of how problematic that sounds because they do just take a lot from blaxploitation without giving a lot back. It's not the most flattering portrayal of like I've said like 3 or 4 times, every black character minus the CIA agent is like in on this scheme. And that's kind of dangerously close to something for me that I get a little uncomfortable around it. But, you know, this is what makes it a good episode to talk about for Black History Month because it is yet another example of fucking the white man just stealing shit from
particularly the British colonializing other people's
shit.
They're
the fucking worst.
They kind of are.
You have no British heritage, right?
I do, but
Oh, do you? I have a little.
Yeah, but I mean, we're white guys. It's hard not to.
I don't stand by that, though.
No.
I don't rep England.
I will cheer for the English football team, but...
well, you say football, but you mean soccer.
Yeah.
So... if that senses some of our respective political views, nothing does. Anyway, how'd you feel about this beer?
Crushable.
Oh, I fucking love this beer.
Yeah.
This is a top 5 beer for me this season. It's going to be hard to knock this out of the top 5 for me.
Yeah.
I see why this is so popular for Silversmith. It's a very, very, very good dark lager.
Yeah, like a nice depth of flavor. The color and the flavor that it brings means that it's not sort of like a light lager. You're not drinking a macro, right? You're getting a lot of flavor and taste, but also very, very easy to drink. Not a bitter aftertaste, like really, really smooth. They've been working on this for over a decade, and you can tell that they've kind of perfected that recipe. It's excellent.
They say it's medium bodied on the can. I think that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
It is very, like, it is, to your point, very drinkable, but you get a ton of flavor.
Yes.
Flavors of toasted malt, chocolate, and coffee. I feel like I got all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a crisp, clean finish, the can also says.
Yes.
And I also get that. This is one of those beers where, unlike some we've had where it's flavorful, but you can't drink a lot in one. I feel like I could crush these all night long and feel great.
Yeah, you would be able to just sit down. It's good with food, but also very drinkable on its own.
Yeah, man.
I swear they did a run of this at one point, and maybe I'm completely off my rocker. With oyster, but I always kind of connect the two. When I drink this beer, it makes me think of oysters.
Like in James Bond hammering oysters before that train ride, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Just getting prepped up for a night, or not a night, 16
hours of
Jane Seymour. What would you give for 16 hours with Jane Seymour?
Playing solitaire for 16 hours?
Yeah.
Sounds boring, unless you're talking with the lady from this movie. Anyway, really great beer. One of the highlights of the season for me, for sure. Like I said, tough to knock this up top 5 for the end of the year. We got some more time coming still. But let's talk about 2 weeks from now. We're going to move away from the British colonial reappropriation of blaxploitation genre and instead watch a movie from the blaxploitation genre. As you may recall, we watched Coffee a while back.
Yeah, Pam Grier.
And love Pam Grier. And we both kind of were like, fuck, we both rated that like too low.
Yeah.
Like good movie. Like we rated it badly. Our enjoyment wasn't high enough. That's when we both kind of look back on and we're like, bad job by us. We're going to watch what is essentially the sequel to Coffee. We're going to watch Foxy Brown in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Pam Grier is Foxy Brown.
Is this, oh God, what's his name? Famous director... Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction. Yeah, is this a Tarantino film?
Is it directed by Tarantino? No, it's from the fucking 70s.
Oh,
you're thinking of Jackie Brown.
It's Jackie.
There we go.
But that's inspired by...
Oh, fuck yes. Yeah, Jackie Brown's a complete Tarantino blaxploitation homage.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. So this is from blaxploitation era.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking
about? No, I don't think that's a terrible comparison of it, is it?
No. Oh, no. I mean, fuck, it stars Pam Grier. It's clearly an homage. No.
Yes.
No, this is. I believe it was actually originally supposed to be a legitimate sequel to Coffee.
Okay.
And they just changed the name
to Foxy Brown.
But here's a little known fact. Directed by a white guy.
Oh.
Same guy directed Coffee, also a white guy.
Huh.
I don't know if we mentioned that when we watched Coffee. I don't even know if I knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So not a black director. No Rudy Ray Moore on this one.
Written by black people, or
I
written
don't
by
think
white
so.
people?
I think this is the exploitation part of the blaxploitation genre.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, man. But it's a great Pam Grier performance. We both loved Coffee. We're going to check out Foxy Brown in 2 weeks. I hope you'll join us for that. Before then, if you haven't already, please follow us on social media at the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Send us emails to thebmbpodcast@gmail.com.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you. We have a few months left for the end of our season. If you have a request you want to get in, you better get it in quick. We're kind of running out of time here, but we'd love to hear from you. So please reach out to us there. And thank you for joining us today for Live and Let Die. We hope to see you in 2 weeks for Foxy Brown. Until then, I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Baron Samedi keeps coming back to life.
Fuck yeah, the guy's magic. Nobody doesn't like bombs.